When life hits you the hardest, that's when you're closest to your breakthrough. Not because the pain is proof of failure, but because pressure creates diamonds. Ask yourself, not why me, but what now? Because giving up is the language of the weak, but you're still standing. And that means there's more left in you than you think. There's a moment in every person's life when they feel like they can't go on. It could be after a major loss, a heartbreaking failure, a financial collapse, or simply waking up every day with the weight of invisible stress pressing down on your shoulders. In those moments, pain feels like it will last forever. It whispers lies in your ear, saying, "This is it. You won't recover. You're not strong enough." And that's when most people want to give up. But here's the truth: pain is temporary, but the growth it brings is permanent. Think about a time you worked out for the first time. After a long break, the soreness you felt in your muscles wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign that your body was being pushed, stretched, torn slightly so it could rebuild stronger. That discomfort wasn't meant to break you. It was a message that transformation had begun. Life works the same way. Emotional pain, mental pressure, spiritual tension, they are all signals that something inside you is being shaped, prepared, refined. We often run from discomfort. We want immediate relief. We want the storm to stop, the struggle to end. But imagine this: a seed must be buried in darkness, completely covered in soil, far from the sunlight before it breaks open and starts to grow. The seed cannot complain or rush the process. It doesn't know what's happening, but it surrenders to it, because buried in that pain is its purpose. That seed doesn't die in the dark, it transforms. In our daily lives, it's the same. Think about the person who just lost their job. At first, the panic, the shame, the fear, it all feels overwhelming. But in time, they learn to adapt. They discover skills they didn't know they had. They find a new direction, maybe even start something of their own. Months later, they look back and realize that job loss was the turning point. Painful, yes, but temporary. And the growth, life-changing. Or consider heartbreak, the kind that leaves you crying into your pillow at 2 a.m., wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. But day by day, you pick up your broken pieces. You start reading, journaling, exercising, meditating, reconnecting with yourself. You become wiser. You become more compassionate. You no longer tolerate things that drain your spirit. One day, someone new enters your life and you're able to love from a deeper, healthier place. That pain didn't destroy you. It elevated you. Pain makes you pay attention to what you've been ignoring. It shakes you awake. When everything's going well, we cruise on autopilot. But when life breaks your rhythm, you're forced to reflect, to rebuild, to rise with intention. That process isn't easy, but it's necessary. And once you've been through it, you're never the same. Growth doesn't come from reading a quote on a wall or hearing a motivational line. It comes from living through something real and making it out the other side stronger. That's what gives your character depth. That's what turns experience into wisdom. And that's what makes you someone who can inspire others, not because you were lucky, but because you didn't quit when it hurt the most. You see, pain leaves scars, but those scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you healed. They're reminders that you survived something that could have broken you, but didn't. They tell your story without you having to say a word. And here's the beautiful part: pain doesn't last, but the strength it creates stays with you forever. In the middle of the storm, it's hard to see this. It's hard to believe that anything good can come from it. But trust this, what you're feeling now is not permanent. Your situation is not your identity. Your current challenge is not your final chapter. Life has a rhythm, and every season passes. Nothing remains still, not even your pain. So the next time you feel like you can't go on, remind yourself, this is a moment, a chapter, not the end. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what now? That small shift in thinking can open up a whole new strength inside you. You are not weak for feeling pain. You are human, but you are powerful for enduring it. You are growing in ways you can't even measure right now. And one day, maybe soon, maybe later, you'll look back and realize that this tough time was exactly what carved out the strongest, clearest, most grounded version of you. Pain is not your enemy, it's your sculptor. And when its job is done, you won't be the same, you'll be better. There's something about waiting that tests the human spirit like nothing else. Waiting stretches us, challenges our patience, and questions our faith. Whether it's waiting for a breakthrough in your career, healing from emotional pain, or clarity about your life's purpose, delay often feels like rejection. But here's a truth that time and experience reveal: a delay is never a denial when a higher purpose is at work. Look around at nature. A mango tree doesn't bear fruit in the first few weeks after it's planted. It takes years. Seasons pass, storms come, the roots dig deeper into the soil. But one day, almost without warning, it blooms and its fruit appears. All that time when it looked like nothing was happening, everything was happening beneath the surface. The same is true for you. We live in a world that worships instant gratification. One-click orders, instant likes, fast answers. But real transformation, real breakthroughs, they take time. And the time it takes is not wasted. It's working for you, not against you. In fact, what feels like a delay is often a deep preparation. If you receive what you want too early, you may not be ready for it. But when it comes at the right time, you'll not only receive it, you'll be able to handle it, sustain it, and grow with it. Think of a student preparing for an important exam. The results don't come the day after the test. There's a waiting period, but in that waiting, does the value of the result diminish? No, it builds anticipation, maturity, and appreciation. The delay forces the student to let go of control, to trust the process. Life is the same. Sometimes the universe is preparing something far greater than you imagined, but it can only be revealed when the time is right. Many people give up in the waiting. They walk away from a dream just before it's about to come true. They abandon their efforts when the finish line is just around the corner, not because they weren't worthy of success, but because they misinterpreted delay as denial. They saw silence as a sign that nothing was happening. But silence is not absence. It's a sacred space where growth is still unfolding, quietly, invisibly, powerfully. There's a powerful lesson in the life of a butterfly. Before it can fly, it must go through a complete transformation inside a cocoon. That cocoon stage looks like inactivity from the outside. But inside, the caterpillar is dissolving, reforming, and being completely reborn. If someone tries to force the butterfly out before it's ready, its wings won't be strong enough, and it will never fly. It needs that struggle, that waiting, that time. You are in your own cocoon right now. The delay is shaping your wings. In our daily lives, we often attach deadlines to our desires. By this age, I should be married. By this time next year, I should be successful. By this month, I should have clarity. But life doesn't always move according to our timeline. And that's not a punishment, it's protection. Because sometimes the things we desperately want aren't what we need. And sometimes what we truly need takes time to become visible. Think of someone who wanted to start a business but kept facing obstacles. Failed partnerships, lack of funding, endless delays. It felt like a closed door. But in the delay, they developed grit, they learned about the market, they refined their vision. 2 years later, they launched. And not only were they successful, but they were far more prepared than if it had worked earlier. The delay was a disguised preparation, or someone praying for the right relationship. Time passes, loneliness creeps in, doubt begins to grow. But eventually the right person enters their life, not just a partner, but someone aligned with their values, their growth, and their peace. And in that moment, they realized the waiting wasn't empty. It was sacred. It wasn't wasted. It was wisely spent building themselves. So if you're in a season of delay, don't despise it. Don't rush it. Learn from it. Let it teach you patience. Let it develop your inner strength. Let it reveal the parts of you that need to grow before you step into what you're asking for. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Your delay might just be divine timing in disguise. What you want is on its way, not denied, just delayed. And when it arrives, you'll know why it took time. Because by then, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to honor it. Sometimes life feels like a constant test, doesn't it? You try your best, but nothing seems to go your way. People misunderstand you, situations break you, and you begin to wonder, why me? Why all these struggles? But the truth that many people overlook in the middle of their pain is this: your struggles are not random. They are preparing you for something far greater than you can see right now. They are shaping you for your higher calling. Every great person you admire, every leader, thinker, creator, or healer has a history of struggle. Their stories may look glamorous now, but if you dig deeper, you'll find moments where they were on the verge of giving up, not because they were weak, but because life was chiseling them, refining them, getting them ready for something powerful. Let's take a daily life example. Imagine a person who works in a job that drains them. Long hours, underappreciated, constantly pressured. It feels meaningless. But instead of quitting, they stay committed. Along the way, they develop patience, learn how to lead under pressure, and figure out how to deal with different personalities. Years later, they start their own business. And guess what? Those painful experiences from the job they once hated become the exact skills that help them succeed. That wasn't just a struggle, it was preparation. Silent, unnoticed, but powerful. Think about the way gold is refined. It's placed in fire, not because it's impure, but because fire brings out its purity. The gold doesn't get to choose the temperature or how long it stays there. But once it's out, it shines like never before. That's you. Your struggles are the fire, not to burn you, but to polish you, to prepare you for something that average comfort could never lead you toward. Struggles teach you things that ease never can. When things go well, we celebrate, but we don't always grow. But in pain, that's where we learn the most powerful lessons: resilience, empathy, self-awareness, courage. You cannot teach someone true empathy if they've never suffered. You can't expect someone to inspire others if they've never had to rise from rock bottom themselves. Struggle deepens your soul, and the deeper your roots, the higher you can rise. Take another example, someone who went through major heartbreak. At the time, it shattered them. They felt abandoned, unloved, broken. But over time, they began to reflect. They learned to set boundaries. They began to understand their own worth. They started healing old wounds that they had ignored for years. And eventually, they found peace. Later, when they met someone truly aligned with them, they were no longer the same person. They were whole. And that new love felt deeper because it was built on a foundation of growth. The struggle wasn't the end. It was a sacred beginning. There's a saying, the wound is where the light enters you. Sometimes what breaks you also opens you. When you've been through pain, your heart becomes softer, your mind becomes sharper, and your vision becomes clearer. Suddenly, you're not just living, you're living with purpose. Because now you have something to give. Your wisdom is not borrowed, it's earned. Struggles also build character. Think of someone trying to climb a mountain. Every step is hard. The higher they go, the thinner the air becomes. Their legs hurt, their body aches, and the summit feels miles away. But with each step, they're becoming stronger. Their lungs are adapting, their legs are growing in strength, and their mind is toughening. That's life. Every challenge is a mountain. Every obstacle is a climb. But the higher you go, the greater the view. And when you finally reach that point where you understand your calling, whether it's to lead, to heal, to inspire, to build, or to protect, you'll realize that you wouldn't be able to handle it if you hadn't gone through what you did. The struggle gave you the muscles to carry the weight of your purpose. It gave you the insight to see what others miss. It gave you the confidence to stand in your truth, even when it's hard. So don't resent your struggle. Don't curse the path, because one day someone will look at your life and find hope. They'll hear your story and feel less alone. Your pain will become someone else's roadmap. And your calling will no longer be a mystery. It will be your gift to the world. You may not see it now, but everything you're going through is shaping something magnificent inside you. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every tear, it all matters. It's all preparing you to become the person you were born to be. So hold on, walk through the fire, endure the storm, because your calling is waiting and you are being prepared. There's a kind of silence that's louder than any noise. A silence that lingers not in the air, but in the soul. It's the kind of silence you feel when you're praying for answers and nothing comes. When you're doing your best, but no results appear. When you ask the universe for a sign and all you get is stillness. In those moments, it's easy to believe that you've been forgotten, that you're alone, that maybe nothing is working. But what if that silence isn't absence? What if it's the sound of divine construction? What if God is silent because He's working on something far greater than what your eyes can see? Imagine a student in the middle of a very important exam. The teacher is there, present in the room, watching, guiding with their presence, but saying nothing. Not because they don't care, not because they've disappeared, but because the student is being tested, growth is being measured, understanding is being revealed. The silence of the teacher is not abandonment, it's trust. It's belief in the student's ability to apply what they've learned. That's what divine silence often looks like. You're not being ignored, you're being entrusted. In our daily lives, silence is uncomfortable. We're wired for answers, updates, results. But real progress, spiritual, emotional, even professional, often happens in the quiet spaces. A seed grows in the dark soil before it ever reaches the surface. A baby is formed in silence inside the womb for 9 months before its first cry is heard. A masterpiece is sculpted slowly, chip by chip, often in solitude. And so it is with life. The seasons that feel the most quiet are often the most sacred. Take the example of a person going through a long season of difficulty, maybe a financial struggle or a personal heartbreak. They keep doing what's right. They stay disciplined, show up, pray, serve, love, but still there's no breakthrough. Weeks turn into months. Months feel like years. Silence becomes heavy, but something deeper is happening. In the background, the person is growing. They're learning strength, humility, resilience, self-control. Things they couldn't have learned if everything had come easy. Then, one day, things start to shift. An unexpected opportunity appears. A door opens that had been closed for years. A healing takes place that once seemed impossible. And they look back and realize it was never a delay. It was preparation. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of invisible work. They weren't forgotten. They were being made ready. Divine silence teaches us patience. It teaches us to trust beyond what we can measure. When you can trace the hand, you learn to trust the heart, and that trust becomes your greatest power. Because once you've gone through a season of silence and come out stronger, your faith no longer depends on emotions or external results. It becomes rooted, unshakable, mature. Think of an artist painting on a canvas. At first, the strokes seem random, the colors clash. The picture makes no sense. If someone walks in too early, they might think the painting is a mess. But the artist keeps going, in silence, in focus, layer by layer. And finally, at the right time, the beauty of the picture is revealed. That's your life. It may look messy now. It may not make sense. But the artist is still at work. Just because you can't hear him doesn't mean he stopped painting. It's important to understand this silence is not punishment, it's protection. Because in the quiet moments, you're given space to reflect, to realign, to reconnect with your deeper purpose. Noise distracts, silence awakens. When everything is still, you're forced to listen, not to the outside world, but to your inner wisdom, to that subtle voice inside that always knows. One of the most powerful things about divine silence is that it refines your motives. When you don't get quick answers, when you don't see instant rewards, you start to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it for recognition? Is it for approval? Or is it because it's right, because it's who I'm becoming? That refinement makes your character pure. It makes your journey real. It turns your faith into something fierce and unshakable. So if you're in a season where everything feels quiet, don't panic. Don't assume you're being punished or ignored. You're in the middle of a deeper process. You're in the hands of a master craftsman, a divine builder who knows exactly what he's doing. Your silence is sacred. It's not the end of the story. It's the space where the story is being rewritten. One day, you'll look back at this quiet chapter with tears of gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because it made you stronger, wiser, deeper. You'll understand that the silence didn't mean nothing was happening. It meant something extraordinary was being prepared. And when it's finally revealed, you'll realize the silence was never empty. It was full of grace. Failure is a word that scares most people. It carries shame, self-doubt, and disappointment. But what if we've misunderstood failure all along? What if failure isn't falling short, but stopping short? What if real failure is not trying again? The truth is, you only fail when you quit. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're trying, you're still in the game. And that means the story isn't over yet. In daily life, we often see people give up too soon. a student who drops out because one test didn't go well, a dreamer who shelves their business idea after one rejection, a person who walks away from healing because it's taking longer than expected. These moments feel final, but they're not. They're crossroads. And in each of these moments, there's a quiet question life is asking: will you continue even when it's hard? Will you keep walking even when you don't see the destination yet? Think of a baby learning to walk. They fall again and again. Sometimes they hit their head, sometimes they cry, but they never stop trying. And eventually, they take that first step. No one tells them, you failed, because falling is expected. It's part of the process. Adults forget this truth. We believe we must be perfect, get it right on the first try, or else it's a failure. But that mindset kills dreams. It discourages growth, and it makes people walk away from greatness, not because they weren't capable, but because they stopped too early. Every person you admire has failed, probably more times than you know. The difference is they didn't quit. They used their setbacks as stepping stones. They fell forward. They got up even when it hurt. And that's what made them who they are. Success isn't about never falling. It's about having the courage to rise every single time you do. Let's take a simple example from everyday life. Imagine someone trying to get fit. They start strong, wake up early, go to the gym, eat clean. But after a few weeks, they miss a day, then two, then a week passes, they feel guilty. They think, I've failed. But in truth, the only way they fail is if they give up completely. If they get back on track, even after the missteps, they're still moving forward. The progress might be slow, but it's real. Quitting is the only thing that makes all the effort go to waste. Or think of someone working on a relationship. Misunderstandings happen. Arguments break out. They start thinking, maybe it's not worth it. But relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on persistence. On showing up even after hard conversations. On choosing love even when emotions are raw. If both people keep trying, the relationship grows stronger. If one gives up, the whole thing falls apart. Again, it's not the struggle that breaks it. It's the quitting. Even nature reflects this principle. The bamboo tree, for example, is planted and watered for years with no visible growth. Imagine watering something every day and seeing nothing come out of the soil. Most people would quit, but those who know its nature understand its roots are growing deep. And then suddenly, in the 5th year, it shoots up feet into the air within weeks. That explosion of growth happens not despite the delay, but because of the persistence during it. Life works the same way. Some chapters seem slow, some efforts seem unrewarded, but behind the scenes something is being built in you. Resilience, maturity, discipline, clarity. And when your moment comes, all those silent years of trying will suddenly make sense. Quitting doesn't just stop progress, it robs you of who you were becoming. The version of you that's brave, consistent, patient. The version that can look back and say, I didn't stop even when everything told me to. That kind of strength is rare, but it's available to anyone who refuses to quit. Failure teaches you more than success ever can. It humbles you. It shows you what doesn't work. It sharpens your focus. Each setback holds a seed of wisdom. But you only harvest that wisdom if you stay the course. If you keep showing up, even when it's quiet, even when it hurts. So if you're facing something hard right now, don't quit. Not today. Maybe you need to rest. Maybe you need to rethink your strategy. But don't give up. The breakthrough might be one more try away. And when it comes, you'll look back at this moment, not as a failure, but as the moment you chose to continue. That choice is everything. You are not defeated by falling. You are only defeated when you choose not to rise. Keep rising. Keep showing up, because your story is still being written. And the most powerful chapters are often the ones where you refuse to quit. Fear has a loud voice. It shows up when you're about to take a risk, when you dare to dream bigger, when you think of starting something new, or when life throws uncertainty in your path. It speaks in whispers that say, what if it doesn't work out? What if you're not good enough? What if you lose everything? And yet, in the face of all this noise, there exists a silent, powerful answer. Faith. Faith doesn't shout. It doesn't always come with visible proof. But when it's alive within you, it calms the storm. It tells fear, even if I don't know what will happen, I will still move forward. Because faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to walk through fear with trust. In daily life, we are constantly faced with choices that require courage. Starting a new business, ending a toxic relationship, leaving a stable job for a calling, speaking your truth when silence feels safer. None of these choices are easy. They all come with uncertainty, and that's where fear thrives, in the unknown. But faith invites us to respond differently. It says, yes, this is uncertain. Yes, it's risky. But I believe there is a higher wisdom guiding me. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff with a thick fog below. You can't see the bottom. Fear says, don't jump. You don't know what's down there. But faith says, take the step. There's ground beneath, even if you can't see it yet. And in life, that's often what's required. The step of faith before the clarity comes. The action before the reward. The leap before the net appears. Think about a farmer planting seeds. When they bury those seeds into the soil, there's no instant return. Days pass, sometimes weeks. The ground looks the same. Fear might say, it's not working. But the farmer keeps watering, trusting the process, and eventually life bursts through the soil. Growth begins. That's faith in action, trusting the unseen. Knowing that results don't always show up immediately, but they are on their way. Even in relationships, faith plays a role. Maybe someone has been hurt before, and now they're afraid to open their heart again. Fear tells them, you'll be hurt again. Don't trust. Stay guarded, but faith whispers, you've healed, you've grown. Not everyone is the same. Try again. And when they do open up, they discover a new depth of connection, love, and understanding, something they would have missed if they had let fear lead. Faith also empowers you in moments of crisis. When you lose a job, face an illness, or feel like life is falling apart, fear is quick to take over. It paints worst-case scenarios and makes the future feel dark. But faith doesn't deny the struggle. It acknowledges the pain but reminds you, this is not the end. There is a purpose. There is something greater beyond this. And just like a night sky eventually gives way to sunrise, your situation will shift. Real faith is not blind. It doesn't ignore reality. It sees the challenges clearly, but chooses to believe that something good can still come from them. It doesn't always know how or when, but it holds on to the possibility. That belief alone can change your entire mindset. It gives you the strength to take one more step, to try again, to hold on a little longer. One of the most inspiring examples is a person who has failed repeatedly but refuses to quit. Maybe they've been rejected dozens of times. Fear screams, stop embarrassing yourself. Give up. But faith says, you've come this far. Keep going. And eventually that breakthrough comes. That one, yes, that open door. and the pain of the journey becomes the foundation of their strength. They didn't reach success because they had no fear. They reached it because they had more faith than fear. Faith is also what keeps you grounded when nothing around you makes sense. When people doubt you, when results are delayed, when you feel invisible. In those moments, faith is what keeps your heart alive. It becomes your quiet anchor, reminding you there is something divine unfolding. Keep trusting. Look at any invention, movement, or piece of art that changed the world. It started with someone who believed before others could see. Someone who had faith in their vision, even when the world laughed. That's how progress happens. That's how lives are changed. Because one person chose faith over fear. So, whenever fear visits you, and it will, don't try to silence it with logic alone. Instead, strengthen your faith. Speak truth to it. Remind yourself of how far you've come, of the things you once feared and overcame, of the doors that opened when you least expected, of the times life surprised you in beautiful ways. That history is proof that faith works, that you are not walking alone. Fear may show up in your life, but it doesn't have to take over. Let faith be the louder voice. Let it guide your steps. And know that with every decision made in faith, you're building a life that no fear can ever shake. There's a saying that goes, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. It's during the storm, not the calm, that true strength is built. In life, it's easy to shine when everything is going well, when people praise you, when the road is straight and the skies are clear. But when life shakes you, when doors close, when nothing goes as planned, that's when your real character is formed. Not the surface version of you, but the version that no storm can destroy. That's what tough times do. They don't just challenge you, they forge you. In our daily lives, we often try to avoid hardship. We see struggle as something to escape, not embrace. But if you look closely, the people who inspire you the most, those with depth, wisdom, and inner peace, didn't get that way from comfort. They earned it through experience, through trials that tested every part of their soul. They didn't choose the easy road, they walked the hard one. And in doing so, they built a kind of character that can't be faked, bought, or borrowed. It was formed in the fire. Take the example of someone who loses everything: a job, a home, a relationship. At first, it feels like their world is collapsing. They're forced to face fears they've never known, live with less than they imagined, and find meaning in pain. But over time, something shifts. They begin to see clearly. They learn what truly matters. They become more grounded, more resilient. They develop strength they didn't know they had. And when they rebuild their life, it's not just restored, it's transformed. That kind of strength doesn't come from ease, it comes from enduring. Tough times teach you to stand alone. They show you who you really are when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no validation, and no easy way out. They force you to develop inner discipline, mental clarity, and emotional control. And that's when you start to grow, not in the public eye, but in private. Not for recognition, but for real. Even small, daily struggles build something powerful in you. Waking up early when you don't feel like it. Staying calm when someone disrespects you. Continuing to show up for your responsibilities, even when you're tired or unmotivated. These moments may not seem heroic, but they are the quiet rituals that shape unshakable character. Because character isn't built in one moment. It's built in 1,000 tiny decisions made daily in silence. Think of how a diamond is formed. It begins as carbon, ordinary, unremarkable. But under intense heat and pressure over time, it transforms into something rare and brilliant. You're no different. The pressure you feel right now is not crushing you, it's shaping you. You may not see the sparkle yet, but it's coming. And when it does, the world will notice, not because you were lucky, but because you endured what others couldn't. In relationships too, tough times are revealing. When everything is going well, love is easy. But when conflicts arise, when disappointments occur, that's when the strength of the connection is tested. The couples that survive and thrive aren't the ones who never struggled. They're the ones who didn't give up, who stayed, talked, grew, forgave. That emotional strength built through hard times is what makes the bond unbreakable. Even in your spiritual journey, struggle plays a role. When life is kind, it's easy to feel connected. But when you're in pain, when prayers seem unanswered, that's when your trust deepens. That's when you learn to rely not on what you feel, but on what you know. You begin to walk not by sight, but by inner conviction. That level of faith, born through adversity, can move mountains. Let's also not forget the impact your tough times have on others. When you go through something hard and rise anyway, you become a beacon. You become the proof that survival is possible, that strength is real, that healing exists. Your story becomes a light for others walking through the same darkness. And that's how unshakable character doesn't just lift you, it lifts the people around you. The truth is, tough times don't last, but what they build inside you does. The confidence, the self-respect, the ability to stay grounded when everything around you is falling apart, these things stay. And they become your foundation for everything else in life. So don't fear the tough moments. Embrace them. Walk through them with your head held high, because you are not breaking down, you are breaking through. One day, you'll look back and realize that the very struggle you hated was the turning point. That the pain you endured was the catalyst for your strength. That the chaos you survived created a calm inside you that nothing can shake. This is the gift of tough times. They don't make life easy, but they make you unstoppable.